Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Dr. Laura Griffith Garland is back with us, and she's on the mend. So I have to commend you on that. How are you feeling, sweetheart?
I'm feeling much better. I still sound a little odd, a little nasally, but that may be due to the still massive amounts of pollen that we have. So
the allergies affected her first, and then she came down with the COVID-19, both her and her husband. So please introduce yourself to listeners and fill us in on your health first and foremost, please.
Sure. I am a holistic inspiration coach, a shaman, a Reiki master. I also tutor math and science. So lots of things. And my husband's doing really well. He got COVID before I did, because he's the one who got it from a client. And he's doing really well. So he's 4 or 5 days ahead of me. Literally, I was with him for 5 days straight before I tested positive. But my energy's back. I'm not coughing or anything like that. It's just a little nasally, which indeed could be our pollen.
Yeah.
It just keeps rolling. We can't seem to get rid of it. So yeah. Really glad that I had the vaccines, because if I hadn't, that probably would have gone not as well.
Very true for a lot of people. Yep.
Because my sense of taste is still slightly off, and I cannot tell whether that's because I'm still nasally or if it was actually one of the symptoms. Like, I had been what's known as a super taster, which is somebody that particularly broccoli. Just the flavor of broccoli was usually enough to make me really not want to eat it at all. Even as an adult, I would eat it because you're supposed to, but then we had broccoli last night. I couldn't even taste it. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I lost my taste for probably 2 months, but it came back. Yeah.
We have friends who one of them lost their taste for 6 months before she got it back. So I don't know. It's just certain things are a little off. So I don't know. And again, it could just be my nose, but I don't know. So we'll see. But no longer is the sword of Damocles hanging over our head of when are we going to get COVID? We now have it. So have had it. So that's great. But it's still out there for people. It is still out there. So
it's a very real thing. Yep.
Please make sure that you know that it is not yet gone away, and I'm not sure that it ever will at this point. So you just have to know what's going to happen and how to handle things. But today I pulled my 3 cards, and they were abundance, success, and empathy.
Oh.
And I looked at that, and at first, abundance and success, yeah, totally. Those totally go together. Completely obvious. That's a duh. But what about empathy? Yeah. And so I sat there for a little bit, just quietly letting my mind kind of percolate, and thought about it. And so the way I was thinking about it was, how does this make an equation? How does it fit in the equation? And then I thought, well, what kind of picture does it make? And then I sat there for a second and realized that thinking those 2 thoughts, what kind of equation, how does it fit in an equation, and what picture does it make? A lot of people would be like, no. You can't put those 2 things together. They picture, equation, no, you don't put those in the same sentence. But see, that's the thing. I do put them in sentences back to back. And when I work on things, when I work with people as a life coach, that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to look at things from points of view that a lot of people would consider completely incongruent. So because I am a scientist, I have the PhD, 6 years teaching nuclear physics to prove that.
Such a smart woman. I love it.
And I'm also a shaman. So as a shaman, we're taught to look at visioning the totality of something, looking at the holistic representation of it. So the picture. And so those two things together as a worldview can really shift things when I work with you on things, because we can look at it from different perspectives and see it all around.
Yeah.
That, you know, can really help people through blocks, can see the block, see a different perspective. And usually how I help people with that is I just ask a question. Like, the question might be, what does abundance actually mean to you?
To you, yeah.
Or what does success mean to you? And the answer to either of those questions is going to be as varied as the person I ask. Because what success means to you, Jill, and what success means to me could be completely different things. What abundance means to one of my clients could be very different from what abundance means to me. But at the same time, you may never have really sat down and thought about this. So many people are like, oh, I want abundance in my life. I want abundance. I want abundance. But that's a word.
What is, yeah.
With a whole huge concept behind it. But what is that concretely for you? And a lot of people have never sat down and made that concrete. They keep saying, oh, I want abundance, I want abundance, I want abundance, but they've never made that concrete. And the universe doesn't know the word abundance. Universe doesn't know words. Universe knows energy and feeling and a process and things like that. Words are something that we made up. I mean, we could have called abundance ukaba or something, you know, I mean, it could be a completely different word. And then we have how many languages on the planet? Well, there's that many words for abundance. So just because I'm saying it in English, the universe doesn't know that. So to really pull abundance, you have to think about it concretely. And I highly suggest anybody who's been saying to themselves, I want abundance, to sit down and write out what that means. And I don't mean type it on a computer, okay? My millennials and Gen Zs out there, please don't type it on a computer. Don't make the list on the computer. Get out a piece of paper and a pen and write. Because that actually is activating a huge amount of neural network. It is working your brain. It is creating that energy in your brain that typing doesn't do. Typing, if they do like a brain scan, they can see how much of your brain has been recruited to work, how many sections are firing. And when you're writing, it's way more than if you're typing. So it's all partially about the science of brain recruitment. We want to recruit more of our brain. That gives a stronger signal to the universe by having more neurons firing. Now, if you're not really into writing, but you're way more visual, people have heard of vision boards. You actually have to make one. People have heard about them, but you got to make one. And again, please don't just make it on your computer. Don't just go on the internet and select a couple of pictures and plop them on a document somewhere, or whatever. Don't do that, because again, we want to recruit brain neurons to send a stronger signal. And to do that, actually make the thing on the wall. Get yourself the 2x3 piece of poster board or whatever, you know, from you know, your kids making a thing for school, or you remember making a poster for school, and actually go in, and sure, you could download pictures from the internet and print them out, but actually post them on the board. It's again recruiting brain neurons to get a stronger signal, to get ourselves more involved in this. So it's not passive. Just making pictures and stuff on the screen often is much more passive. I will caveat that if you are someone who your profession is making computer art, then very likely it's nowhere near the same passive process. So if that's your profession and that's what you do, then sure. But for the rest of us, make the actual poster that goes on the wall. And think about it deeply, not just skim the surface. Like there's more to abundance than money. Sure, money and things are awesome. And if you're doing a vision board, then that's great. You know, if you're trying to find a house, or you're wanting, you know, a particular car or whatever it is that is your things, sure, you put those on your vision board or you write them in your list if you're actually writing it out. If you're writing out car, if that's something that you're wanting, don't just say car when you're writing. Like describe it. What model? What is it like? What extras does it have? What color is it? Get very, very, very specific. Again, recruit more brain neurons so that you have more of yourself invested in this, so that you're really in it. But it's more than things. It's more than money. Abundance is more than just your career. What about friends? What about family? What about kids, if that's something for you? What about them doing things? What about your health? What does that mean? How about your spirituality? What does being abundant spiritually mean? What about your values? How does that show up? What is being abundant in all of that mean for you? Again, recruit the whole picture, holistic, not just, I want more money in my bank account. By the way, that one doesn't work so well.
Darn it.
Just thinking about that. That one doesn't work so well. It's being much more concrete than that. And if you do want more money in your bank account, please make sure that you put an actual figure down. Like print out a number if that's where you're going with more money in your bank account. But are you really thriving if all it is that's abundant is you have money?
Yeah.
Or your career is successful? Again, let's go to now the success part. What does success mean? Is it just successful in your career? Is it just that you have a certain number in your bank account? Does that make your life a success when you think about that? So what about successful relationships? Personal, professional, your friends, your family, you know, all of that, successful relationships. How about success in your health? Maybe you need to go to a certain weight. And so a success for you would be getting a certain number of COVID pounds off. You know, your doctor may have been like, you know, those 15 pounds you put on, you really need to take them back off. And so being very specific with that, or maybe it's, you know, something like your A1C number or your blood pressure number, or, you know, very specific in these things. Success is hitting a certain level of that. Yeah. You know, so thinking more than just the career. Maybe success also includes feeling a connection to the divine. Like, you know, not feeling left out, alone in the universe, but feeling some sort of connection with the divine. That may give you some success. Maybe it's representing your values in the world. Maybe that's success. You know, showing up in the world, not letting anyone cross those boundary lines that you have set. Maybe that's successful, you know. So we want to think way more holistically. We want holistic thriving, not just one part of your life is working well and everything else kind of sucks. that's not truly successful or abundant. I don't think anybody would agree that if only one part of your life is working and the rest kind of sucks, that you're really thriving.
No,
I mean, if you're working 90 hours a week and all you do is work and you never see your family, your kids have no idea who you are. You haven't talked to your parents in months. You haven't gone out for dinner with anyone in who knows how long. Yeah, you have a Lamborghini and the, a $2 million house, but are you even ever there? And do you ever get to drive it?
Good point. Very good point. I got goosebumps on that one. Gosh. No, because there's days I feel that money would help me be more abundant and would help solve my stuff. But then it's like, well, look at the reality of it. Like, I want a bigger house, but what would I do with the space? Would I clog it up with more of my crap that I still haven't put away in my regular house? Like, it's just making more room to put more crap. Like, I have to calm down sometimes and think. Yeah. We have this Western cultural ideal that you got to have the big house, the fancy car, and then you're successful. But I can tell you, I have worked with clients who have the big house and the fancy car, and they work 60 hours a week, and their kids are in their teens and really have no idea who they are. Not a clue. And the kids are running off the rails because mom and dad are never home. And all they're looking for is the next big thing, and as far as money goes, and they're miserable because they're not holistically thriving. Exactly. Internally. Yep.
Holistically thriving. It's got to be more than that. And their health at this point, they're in their late 30s or 40s, and their health is starting to suffer because they've been working crazy hours. So you got to think about everything. And this is why working with a life coach, specifically someone like myself, where I look at things from the scientific perspective, like I tell you, you have to recruit your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really got to get into this. But then at the same time, we got to make the whole picture of your life so that you're feeling that. It's got to make the picture or the mosaic, or we got to put it together in a jigsaw puzzle that actually works. Jigsaw puzzles don't look very good if all you manage to have is the outside outline. And the rest of the pieces are just kind of heaped in a pile in the middle. Somehow that picture just doesn't look really good.
Doesn't no.
And from the other perspective, if your life is kind of more like, if you think of it as an equation, the equation has to balance. And if you don't have that balance, it's not complete. Things aren't going to work. Things start breaking down.
Yeah.
Like health or mental health. So you want that holistic, all of it put together. You want to fill in the complete picture of your life. You want that balanced and complete equation. Now for the last part of today's puzzle, empathy, because we haven't talked about that yet. Yeah. How does that fit in with this? And that was my original, scratch my head question. How does this fit in? And then I completely realized,
oh, wait, yeah,
what it does. It's surprising. We're told to want abundance, and we're told, you do the law of attraction and then you get abundance. But okay, how? Well, I told you a little bit, right? Yeah. Get your vision board or real detailed pen and paper list. One or the other, whichever works for you. And that's going to recruit neurons so that you're really into it. But then there's the other part, empathy. Empathy recruits your heart. Your heart has an electromagnetic field that's 1,000 times stronger than your brain. Your heart is where we actually send that electromagnetic pulse out into the universe.
Yeah.
And that's the actual frequency that you have to send out in the universe to get back. But here's the key. You have to match in your heart the frequency that you want to come back. So this is why law of attraction is kind of difficult. Just thinking about stuff
doesn't cut it. Even recruiting a whole bunch of neurons still isn't going to cut it. You've got to have the heart involved, because you've got to have the frequency of the energy so that the universe can match it. Now, how do we get the frequency that we're supposed to be matching? And this is where I realized empathy is exactly what we need. We empathize with people all the time, at least unless you're a psychopath, which I doubt you're listening to this. But we as humans empathize all the time. Some of us do it better. Some of us pay attention to it more, but it's hardwired actually. Some of us just pay attention more. And literally when you empathize, you feel someone else's feelings. You're feeling their energy. And that's what it is. You're picking up on their energy. You're resonating with it. You're feeling it within yourself. And so you empathize with how they're feeling because you can feel it too. Well, we can empathize with concepts. We can empathize with ideas. And here's the thing. We can empathize with ourselves when we will be abundant and successful. So we empathize, feel ourselves when we will be successful and abundant. And when we feel that energy, feel that sense, all of those emotions that go with that, then that's what we'll be sending to the universe to attract that exact same thing back to us. So it's a weird kind of circular thing, but at the same time, here's the deal. Physics doesn't actually require time to work. In really, really high level physics, time is really not quite a thing. It's a thing for humans. So we, if we want, can feel ourselves in the future when we are successful and abundant. We can feel that now and therefore have that energy to send out to attract ourselves essentially to ourselves in the future. So it's a magnetic pull toward ourselves in the future. I know it's a little esoteric. It's a little esoteric, but a lot of the people who work with the law of attraction and all of that will tell you, you have to resonate with the energy of what you're trying to attract. And I realized that today they gave us the key to that. It's empathy. Have empathy for yourself in the future. Feel yourself as abundant and successful. And then you draw yourself to that point. Because you can do that. Because again, physics doesn't actually require time, which gets really, 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 really complicated in your mind. But now is really only a concept of humans. The future is really only a concept. So technically, everything's all happening now. Yeah. So you can indeed empathize with yourself when you're abundant and successful. Yeah. Little esoteric, but also at the same time totally cool.
It is.
So that's kind of how that all got put together today. Be holistically thriving, and then empathize with yourself in that holistically thriving mode to pull yourself into that exact mode that you want to be.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you for sharing. Wow.
I know.
How have you, can I ask, what personally in your life, what have you been able to draw with this? What have you personally manifested, asked for, and kind of, could you give us an example?
Sure. Every time I want new clients and I'm ready for new clients, I didn't realize, but this is pretty much exactly what I do. I picture the new client that I want. I picture myself working with them and how I feel working with them. And then somebody calls or writes and they show up.
I haven't tried this yet with social situations because we've been in COVID, but now we're coming out.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, so many of our friends locally have moved that we realized we're really kind of short on friends, and we hadn't noticed it because we hadn't been able to go out. So I'm planning on working on that with increasing a group of friends in our local area, because so many of our friends left Charleston during COVID. But clients, I wanted a new program to work on for my coaching, to take my coaching to the next level. And I kept picturing that and feeling myself working in that. And then bang, I got an invite. You had to get an invite to this particular program through Mind Valley, and sure enough, there was the invite. And on top of that, they were for certain people cutting the price in half. So,
Yeah.
so I got it for half price, which was just
always a good thing. Come on. we
Yeah,
appreciate
you know,
that. Yes.
again, because it was a special invite. So yeah, pulling things in when I need them. When you focus on it, it works. And you gotta focus. It's gotta be very focused. And you gotta stay in the positive with it. If you just do this for like 20 minutes, and then you go off and you talk about how unabundant you are and how much lack you have and how your bank account sucks and how you can't find anything, and it's going to negate what you just set out. So you have to stay in that energy of keeping pulling that.
Yeah.
And that's really the tough part. That
part.
is staying in the energy. So yeah, I know.
Thank you for being here, for staying with us. You sound great today. Again, wishing you your health recovery journey. I'm glad you're feeling a lot better. Someone does want to reach out to work with you, Dr. Laura Griffith Garland. How do we do that, please?
Sure. It would be, you can call 843-259-8349, or you can email at drlaura.coach@gmail. So that's drlaura.coach@gmail.com.
Perfect. And in the meantime, how's your husband? Just checking. He's good too?
Yeah, he's doing a
right.
lot better.
Good. Glad to hear that. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, everyone. More of the show to come. Don't go anywhere.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.